Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's screening of Tomb Raider. As you can see, we have tables and chairs on the stage. We're going to do the Q&A before the film today. It seemed to make more sense. And I'm not going to do the Q&A because I know nothing about games and PlayStation and all that kind of stuff, so I'm going to bring an expert to the stage. So please welcome to the stage Mr. Luke Earle, Tomb Raider enthusiast.
Hello. So, we're in Derby to watch Tomb Raider, the birthplace of Lara Croft, as I'm sure most of you know from the description on the website. And yeah, we're doing the discussion now because you've got to think that Tomb Raider 22 years ago came out and it's evolved so much since then. And it's always important to look back at what that start was like and speak to some of those people who actually created that game. So without me rambling on, we may as well introduce them all. So we've got two of the developers who worked on the first game and throughout Cord's lifetime in Derby. We've got Heather Stevens. You can come up now. Come on down. Not a speedboat. Gavin Rummery. And we have the voice of Lara Croft in Tomb Raider 2 and 3. Iconic. Royalty in the building, people. It's Judith Gibbins. Woo. There you go. You're next to me, unfortunately. That's what my girlfriend says. Anyway, let's start. So, where's the wine? So, three icons next to us. I think the best thing to do is probably to start how did you actually all get involved in Tomb Raider? I'm sure we've all got very different stories, but let's start with Lara herself. Judith.
Hi, everybody. My brother was working on the game with these guys, and he said they were holding an audition for the voice of Lara for the second game. Unfortunately, I didn't even know anything about her. I didn't know what she looked like or, anything about her history or anything like that. And I'd Denard, actually, whether to go down and audition. But I did. And I think it was a couple of days later we were down in London starting recording on Tomb 2. It was that quick.
There you go, just like that. And the dream team in the corner.
After I got thrown out of the biscuit factory for eating too many biscuits, I thought I'd come to Derby. And no, actually, I'd been in the industry for something like 8 years prior to coming to Core. So I was working for Rare down at Twycross, and then left Rare, and it was pretty much the first company that I applied for a job from was Core Design. And I think the novelty that I was a woman and walking in the door with some experience was enough for Jeremy to just say, well, when can you start? I don't actually remember showing him very much of my portfolio or my CV.
There you go.
Yeah.
Spoke for yourself.
Well, I basically just finished at university and faced a fork in my life about do I go off and make kind of business software or do I make games? I thought, well, okay, let's give the games thing a go. Sent off a few CVs, got a interview at Core, went along. First day, as I've recounted many a time, go and talk to this guy, Toby. He's got this game, okay. Talked to him and that was that. I was on Tomb Raider.
There we go. So, those early days, because now, it's such a huge thing, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft is iconic. Everyone knows the name. But I suppose that early time, it was just, what was it? Was it just work? Did you think that, you'd be seeing it in movies and sort of on Lucozade bottles?
Well, it had never been done before, really, and certainly not in the UK. And we saw things from a different perspective in that we were very games focused. And I think once marketing and that roller coaster of the identity of Lara Croft became established, that move into the cinema, into making films was, I think, a natural progression. But I think for myself and most of the team, or people that worked on the original game, there was definitely two separate areas for Lara to exist in, the game world and the other world.
Yeah, because they wanted me. Well, I did the voiceover for the LucasAid advert originally, and then they cut out all the talking, the sound, just left the actions.
Aww. Did you
Yeah.
get a LucasAid? Did you get a free LucasAid?
No, not even a free LucasAid.
That sounds about right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that was the thing. We were so concentrated on making the game, and Lara was obviously an important part of the game. She was obviously the main character, so we, I felt kind of attached to her as we were building the game. But none of us had any kind of idea that, well, 20 years later we'd still be talking about her, or there'd be a movie just about. And I don't think Toby didn't have that idea in his head, because he wanted to finish the game, work on something new. None of us thought of it as this is the first in a series of games. It was like, we're making Tomb Raider, we've made this game, oh, that's great. Let's move on to something else. That was kind of the mindset you had, because there weren't many games then that were kind of going from one thing to another. You had a few characters like Mario that were getting a few sequels, but the idea of a kind of franchise, that kind of concept that's so common nowadays, no one really talked in those terms back then. So you kind of, if a game was successful, you got to make a sequel. But the idea that Lara would become bigger than the game, that was like, no way would I ever
I think
guess
it's the way she looked and the way she acted and like her accent and stuff like that. It was so appealing to a lot of people, because she was kind of posh, but she was really adventurous as well. But she looked very nice as well, if you get me.
Not anymore, though.
Now she's realistic.
Now she's just a London
she's
girl who's sort of
realistic,
out of her depth.
She's fierce.
I suppose that's a good sort of place to start, because for making that game originally, that character was that sort of the. It's evolved. So we've come from sort of, these fantastic worlds with dinosaurs and disgusting levels which you made. And now we've become more grounded. So what do you think about that, about this sort of evolution? Like, do you still see it as the same thing, or?
I preferred. I had an idea who Lara was when I was working on the game, and she was a very secretive person without a backstory, and I found that more interesting than the way Lara has progressed now, in that everything has to have a backstory. Can't somebody just be mysterious? Couldn't she have just been allowed to be this mysterious woman? That's the only thing that I think is, in some ways, unnecessary.
I think it's strange hearing you say that, because I had to learn the opposite.
You needed backstory.
I had to learn, when she went to school.
There was no backstory when we worked on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was...
that was interesting to hear that from you, yeah. Although I wasn't allowed to tell anybody who I was,
We used to make a different backstory up sort of every couple of months, didn't we? We'd add a little bit to it.
I certainly remember her backstory kind of evolving over the game.
Yeah.
And, the whole story changed. I can't quite remember, but Toby had kind of... because there's a cutscene, isn't there, that kind of Lara sitting on the bed with the ski on, sort of, that got cut. That's when Neil decided to start making levels, because he'd spent 3 months making this cutscene, and then Toby went, "Oh no, I've changed the story." And he went, "Right, that's it.
That happened a lot.
I'm not doing that anymore."
Script as well.
Yeah.
He started making levels instead, which was kind of good, because he made a lot of good levels. But yeah, we didn't really think too hard about that. So it made, actually, the Tomb Raider 2 was particularly weird, because suddenly Lara, became this big character, and was on the face, and obviously that pushed her into the mainstream media. And suddenly you had all these people coming around who weren't game journalists going, "Oh yeah, so who do you think Lara dates?" And it's like, how do I know? She's a fictional character.
Yeah, exactly. They thought she was like real. I got real questions like, "Will you go out with me?" And I had to answer as a cartoon character. Well, sorry, a cartoon character, a game character. Behind a television screen, they're asking you personal questions.
Yeah, you'd have had that even worse.
I
I'm
did.
sure,
I did it at the E3 in Atlanta.
But they kept asking these kind of
crazy.
strange questions, and you're like, no, she doesn't exist, So I actually don't know the answer unless we make it up now.
Yeah. Which we did. We did make it up if we needed to right then, didn't we?
I suppose that's sort of, because now you go like with the actual actresses playing the character, you go, oh, she's become Lara Croft. But then there was that news article where they compared you to Lara Croft.
Well, that was 21 years ago, and I was a lot slimmer. They compared my vital statistics to Lara's vital statistics. What car I drove, what car she drove. I mean, obviously, I was a single parent at the time. It's just
the big secret.
I think that's why they didn't want anybody to see that what I look like, but they just liked my voice because I just didn't look anything like her. I think they were frightened that people wouldn't like Laura's voice because if they saw what I look like. Do you understand what I mean? That's what I thought anyway.
I suppose it's that culture at the time though, because now that just wouldn't happen.
No.
And with everything which has been happened recently, like you couldn't do that. You couldn't just hide someone away for those reasons.
I was hidden away, all right, in the back cupboard all the time, yeah.
Behind the screen answering questions.
Yes.
But now you're on stage answering questions. It's fine. You're on show to everyone there.
Only had to wait 21 years.
Only 21. It's fine. So what sort of memories do we have? For me, for Tomb Raider, the most sort of thing stands out for me is I went to school on Ashbourne Road. I went to Ashgate Primary School, and my mum, we walked to school, and she'd go, that's where Lara Croft lives. And it was very confusing because you go, that is a very small house. It doesn't look like that in the game. But, everyone here will probably have those little memories of the game, playing with the parents, stuff like that. So, I mean, for you must have some very different memories because of that.
One of the memories I've got is when it started to become successful. We were like the hotline for every family member or friend on how to get past a level. And we were working on Tomb Raider 2 at the time, so we were getting a lot of phone calls through for I've got halfway through this corridor and I can see where I need to go and how do I get the key. And sometimes I'd have to think, well, hang on a minute, that's Neil's level. I'll just ask Neil, when you get, I'll just put him on. So that was amusing, and lots of really good memories just because of the people that were there, just the time shared together with a group of creative people. Drunken nights as well, occasionally, and takeaways, the worst takeaways in the world. Sort of Adrian, the one of the directors there, it seemed to be his main job during all the Tomb Raiders was to supply us with takeaway to keep us in the building. And we used to joke that he changed a light bulb really well. That's the only time we've ever seen him in the room.
Yeah, my main memory is, I think, for Tomb Raider, it's kind of people, you guys are fans and stuff, you've played the games. Of course, I've never played the game like you've played the game. I mean, my main memories of Tomb Raider are testing the levels and playing them when they had no bad guys in or they didn't work, or especially Tomb Raider 1, because a lot of those levels, if you look on the disc, you'll see that there's level 7A, 7B, 7C. So I didn't play it like that. I played it as level 7, and it was like, oh my God, we can't fit this on the disc. It's 3 levels back to back. It got split up into. So my memory is playing these like mind-bogglingly huge levels that Heather and Neil sort of delivered the first time, playing the system. That was a classic one. I played that and I kind of ran in a level, jumped across the thing, picked up a key, unlocked the door. 1 minute 30, and I went, Heather, I think I've broken your level because I don't think it's supposed to have taken 1 minute 30, is it? She was like, no, because it had all the water going up and down. We spent ages trying to get that level working, didn't we?
Yeah,
trying to get the logic of how you could
force
players to actually have to do all the things that Heather had planned, but because it was such an intricate level to get working. So that's kind of the real memories I've got of just playing the levels when there were no characters in it and things like that.
What about you, Judith?
I'm afraid I can't play it. No, I tried, but my son took over, so he grew up with it. And
what about you? Because I think I remember watching an interview you did where you were talking about how your son and his friends and how they're a bit confused about the voice because you say who you were and they were a bit.
Well, yeah, they in fact I think one of my son's friends is in tonight, and they used to say, will you say something? Will you say something? Well, like most kids would, really, and because they kind of didn't really believe, my son, but yeah, so I just say the same thing all the time, just say whatever comes into my mind, of the game, like, no, that's not right. Go back to the beginning and try again, or something like that, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard before. But unfortunately, I really can't play the game. My hand and eye coordination is not very good.
Actually, I've got an opposite story to that of playing it because after we'd been playing it for 3 years, we were like ninjas at it.
Oh yeah.
And on Tomb Raider 2, there's a kind of a well-known sequence that's quite difficult, which is called the kind of burner hall sequence. Do you guys know that? Where you kind of in the upside down ship, you have to run up and down these corridors to get the flames to go out to run through. Anyway, it's really hard.
I see you nodding.
Yeah, well, it's got a reputation for being really hard, but I played the really hard version because Neil had tuned that to within 5 seconds to do it. He'd made all the corridors identical, and there was these kind of light fittings on the floor, and there was about 6 of them in each corridor. So the first time I ever played it, it took me 30 attempts to get past it. I went to Neil, no, we can't leave it like this. People are just going to get stuck. And he's like, oh, but I've tuned it so much. And we cut, and he's like, under duress, he took out all of these light fittings and made the corridors look different. He added about 30 seconds of timer. Went into test, they went, this is still way too hard. So we added another 30. So it was like a minute added. The whole thing, I was thinking. And then it went out and people went, this is the hardest sequence in the game. So God knows what people would have thought if they played the original.
I can remember that we both had different styles, Neil and I used to like players to see what they needed to do before they had to do it. But Neil had a sort of slightly sicker attitude, and if he knew people had just saved the game or they were at a save game point, he'd quite happily just roll a ball from one side.
Yeah,
and
if you think you get trolled in the game, that's undoubtedly Neil.
Yeah.
Whenever there's something that you think, my God, they're bastards, why did they do that?
And he'd find
That's
it really
Neil.
funny, wouldn't he? Yeah. And we all would say, can you just take it out, Neil? Because, you just saved the game, or you just entered the level and died, and no, just leave it where it is.
Can I just say that even though that I can't play the games, I do admire how much time and effort and energy that all the fans, do put into getting to each level and getting to the end.
I know, yeah, I'd given
It's
up
incredible.
if I just bought the game. There's no way I'd have played it.
And I also like, if you don't mind me mentioning, that the cosplay today, I think that's a fantastic community. I think it's fabulous. That whole community that, you can dress up and you've got that community where you can talk about things and not just the game, but you've got relationships within that community. I think that's absolutely incredible. I just wanted to say that.
I mean, as well, like, how do you feel like now the community treats you? Because at the time you weren't celebrities or anything like that, but to a group of people you are. So how does that, is that weird, or like how do you feel about that?
No, I don't feel like a celebrity until somebody says this. I was on a dig
Till you
at
sat up
3
here.
o'clock this afternoon, digging trenches. So no.
No,
Not
I
a
don't feel like a
celebrity.
celebrity.
No, I don't think we're celebrities at all.
I feel
we're,
really
we're
sorry
able
for
to
everybody.
pass through, shopping centres without anyone noticing. It's really easy.
Yeah.
I'm sat here just, Luke, I'm thinking these guys just want to watch a film, put it on.
Yeah, hurry up, yeah. Well, I think we're just a part of history,
Yeah.
a Derby's history, really. I think that's it, isn't it?
And I think that's, for me, that's what really it is. Like, my connection to it is a massive part of Derby, and that's something you've all helped create in some ways. That you've made an icon, and you're sort of the hidden figures behind the icon. So people know the character, but they don't know the people. It's quite.
But that's odd in
thing.
itself because nobody wanted to know us.
Yeah.
Actually, 'cause
when we were doing the games.
Well, think about the premiere. We went to the premiere of the Angelina Jolie film.
Ooh.
I know it sounds cool, doesn't it? So
Yeah,
we,
that's
went,
20
we,
years
arri-
on
we
for
arrived at
this.
Leicester Square, and there's all the crowds and the limos turning up and all that. And of course, we walk out. Well, first off, we tried to get in the side door of the cinema, and it's like locked. It's like, how do we get in? And then we realised, no, you have to walk in. You have to go down the red carpet. Of course, we walk out from the crowds, and everyone's ignoring you. They don't have a clue who you are. And we went on the red carpet, and the banks of cameras, and they're all kind of polishing their lenses and that, waiting for the next celebrity to turn up. And literally, while we were on the red carpet, you remember that suddenly that someone did turn up. I don't know who it was, but 2 bouncers just went, clear the carpet, and they just powered us all into the cinema, pushed us off. And it's like, wow, this wouldn't exist if we hadn't done what we did. But, no one cares.
The thank yous you got. So yeah, go along. The star's here. Angelina. And she's here tonight. No, she's not. She's not. No, we didn't ask
I think
Jack.
the biggest groans about the film came from our line, though, of viewers. We were all just sat there going, "Oh my God!"
I just remember that big
Through the whole
the
film.
tent in her garden. That's all I really remember of that film.
The bit for me was the bit where she walks across the ice in a white costume, and it was like 2 pyramids were coming towards me, and I thought, Angelina, what have you done to yourself just to get this role?
Because that is.
I kind of enjoyed those a bit.
Yeah, maybe you did.
Wow. I suppose that is a big part of it, though. Well, two big parts of it. I'm sorry, but that was
not so much now, though. I think.
But this is the thing. Like back then, there was that big controversy about did they or didn't they? Did they make her bust bigger or not? And I mean, you've answered it a million times.
Did they? No, I don't think they did. Maybe they did in the FMVs, but I don't.
No,
think
yeah, I think the kind of marketing and the game kind of diverged on that particular front. The game never had any of that kind of thing in it. And like I said before, we kind of addressed it a bit at the end of Tomb Raider 2 by purposely putting in that bit where she shoots the camera, because it was like we got so sick that year of being asked by lads mates, is there a new cheat? Is there a new cheat? And it's like, no. So we put in that bit like, she looks like she's about to undress, because we knew that like people would be
don't
like,
you think you've seen
enough?
How long? 1 minute? One more question. Okay. Anyone got a good question? Shout it at me.
When's the film going to start?
When's the film going to start? Soon. Okay. Did you ever get an offer?
No.
No?
Have you ever offered to work on any new ones? I think Toby went back eventually, didn't he?
No, he went. Crystal got him back to add some legitimacy to what they just done, but yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
That was
a bit controversial, wasn't it?
Sorry.
Yeah.
There was some chuckles. Some people got it. Okay, well, thank you very much to the three of you. Again, it's been nice talking to everyone. Hopefully you've all learnt something new and interesting. And, yeah, let's start the film. Thank you. Round of applause, everyone.
Okay, thank you.